Good evening. Been a long time, hasn't it? Well, there are many reasons for that, but I'll get to it later. You're here for the audio. Tonight's video, I have the assistance of Frezzman and DodgeThis 42. Two friends of mine, which I am very, very grateful for their assistance in this part in the series. Without further ado, Part 5 of PFBI. Hey there. Sorry for the lack of any posts in a month. Our networks have been constantly crashing on an hourly basis. I've tried to post again and again, but it keeps failing. It'll be a miracle if this one gets through. My superiors still haven't done anything as of yet, as far as I'm aware. Selena's back and has quite the news. The way she told me is how I'm going to summarize it as either good news or bad news. The good news is she's gotten in contact with a friend of ours in the hacking division, Onyx. He's probably the best hacker I've ever witnessed the work of. I'm assuming that's an alias, but I could be wrong. He's kind of half human, half eldritch or something like that. I'm also expecting that little shit to be the one behind the constant internet issues. He's been able to hack inside our entire network and blind everyone here from my posts. I'm thankful for that, which means I could give you guys the details to our more secure files. It's quite tempting. I feel more inclined to do so were I feeling generous. But I'm not, so I won't. I can't just give you dessert before a meal. Now for the bad news. After some snooping around, Selena found an experimental testing facility. Apparently, what I've come to understand this place to be might not be entirely accurate. From her description, she saw something terrifying in a massive test tube. It was essentially a giant, an incredibly muscular humanoid figure about 15 feet in height. Covering its forearms, legs, and joints were bone-like plating. Its body was covered in scars. Illuminated loading bar hovered above the tank. It read, compression 85%. Sounds like we're keeping more monsters here than I originally thought was possible. Selena also caught a glimpse of our new CEO. He was a gentleman in a very nice suit. Behind him was a giant buff elderly man. Listening to her, I think that might be his bodyguard or something. She also told me something strange. Her other self that was always so calm was petrified with fear after seeing the duo. I was shocked to even consider her feeling any level of fear. Her eyes told a different story. She seemed genuinely terrified of our new boss. Anyway, on another. So I found another of my old scriptings. This one was covered with redacted statements, which was irritating as hell. It would be impossible to read if we didn't have access to some forbidden technology. I'll try to explain this one in particular. You might be familiar with time travel, maybe not. We have something like a microwave that we put a variety of items inside. Let's say you have one bite of food left, but you want seconds. Throw the food in the microwave, press start, and press stop when you feel like it. It only affects the flow of time within the microwave itself. For example, the food would restore itself, but the food in your stomach wouldn't disappear. So I threw in the scripting to remove all the redacted markings. That's the only one of the devices we have here. Anyway, I can now reread it clearly. This case was the first Esper I'd ever seen. She was a lovely young woman in her early 30s, Susan. She led a seemingly normal life, had a few kids, a loving husband, and worked from home. Her activity late at night is what caught our attention. She catfished men, old and young, who were drawn to her. All who have died within a week of meeting her. All deaths were caused by burns throughout their body. Interrogating her was Fred. I'm not sure how or why, but Fred has a vast knowledge of how people's brains works, after just a few words from them. He guessed all of my passwords after a single syllable from me. I changed them constantly because of that prick.
Hello, Mrs. Susan. You're probably wondering why you're here. please. Susan is fine. And yes, I'm curious as to why. I haven't broken any laws, have I?
Why, in fact, you have. Quite an egregious sin indeed.
What do you mean?
Susan, how many men have you communicated with over the many years of marriage you've had with your husband?
None. I'm very happily married.
Now, the corpses we found would prove the opposite. The last person they'd each contacted was you. How odd. You aren't hiding anything, are you? A secret, perhaps?
What corpses are you talking about? I've hardly spoken to another man after my husband placed a ring on my finger. We've only had daughters as well.
Very well. How about I just read a conversation you've had with one of the victims? Hi, Susan. I'm free this Saturday night if you don't have anything planned.
Hi, Mark. I don't have a car to head anywhere. What if we just Skype chat Saturday night? I'll make it worth your while.
Well, Susan, does 9 o'clock work?
Yes. See you then.
The following Sunday, Mark failed to show up for work at noon. Someone checked his house and found him dead in front of his computer. Both him and his machine looked burnt to a crisp. Hardly anything could be taken from the hard drives for solid evidence, but we have our ways. This case, and many others, all point to you.
Oh, that's all? You do realize you can't imprison me for this, right? Burnt to death? With what evidence can you incriminate me for?
We don't exist. We can do whatever we want. But we aren't completely heartless. I'm willing to offer you a choice. Work for us and put your skills to better use.
Susan sat and stared at Fred for a minute, completely silent. The hairs on my arms and back of my neck began to stand on end. They felt full of energy, strangely.
How about this? I kill you and everyone here and leave.
The lights hanging above her erupted as electricity shot towards her. Like a battery, she absorbed it. Susan then pointed her flex fingers towards the glass separating me and her. I ducked instinctively. Bolts of lightning struck the chair where I sat moments ago. I didn't want to look back up. Gunfire as well as screams of agony filled the room. I chanced to look more out of stupid curiosity. I saw her electricity stopping the bullets before connecting with her and forcing them back towards the gunman. Only a few minutes of this passed. As promised, she killed most of us here and walked out unharmed. Oh, yeah, right. That's why we redacted all of this. We usually do that for people or beings deemed too dangerous to have any logical dialogue or agreements with. As far as I know, she just went back to living her life as normal. We didn't bother her after that. Another reason I'm sticking with my cat instead of another human. Too unpredictable. Well, that's what's happened lately. I'll try to look through to find another scripting to tell you about. I'm still waiting for any commands this monkey suit boss man will have for me. Until then, I'm your friendly PFBI guy. Well, I do hope you enjoyed what you've heard. And I would like to give a huge thank you to DodgeThis 82 and Frezzman. Both are close friends of mine and I've talked to on many occasions. I've had conversations with Frezzman about comics and if Spider-Man is worthy to hold Mjolnir. DodgeThis 82, I believe I've played Among Us with her quite a few times. Anyway, the explanation as for the time duration of why this took so long. I'm not going to get too personal, but over the last few months, I've been dealing with many mental issues, emotional depression issues, and as of recent, physical health issues. So all of my motivation and desire to record any audio has been shot to hell and back. I'm not making any promises of doing more or doing less, because I want to make sure I keep the promises I make. And I have no idea what's going to happen. But I assure you, I'm going to do my damnedest. That said, I do wish you an excellent evening, night, day, afternoon, morning, whatever day or time it may be for you. And do remember, there's so much to understand in this world.